Well, we think that part of our job, that's Elizabeth and myself, is to spot trends that are emerging in society. I mean, long ago it was what I call portfolio workers, people who live independent lives, or free agents as they're called in America. And we thought they were emerging. This was 25 years ago. Then about 10 years ago we thought that entrepreneurship was on the rise in Britain and we should encourage it, so we wrote a book called The New Alchemists. And then about 3 years ago we thought something was happening. There are new rich, youngish people around who got more money than they know what to do with. And some of them, we noticed, were beginning to get themselves into social enterprises. And we thought maybe philanthropy, which sort of was a British concept 100 years ago with the Cadburys and the Bournevilles and people, has been recreated in a new form in Britain. Maybe we should investigate this. Much to our surprise, when we delved into it, we discovered that everybody else was having the same sort of idea, and there were all sorts of institutions to do with philanthropy. And so we began to think, something's happening here. There is a new mood around, a new mood of what we called generosity. But we were looking at a particular group of people who were still young enough to make things happen and not just to sit back in their retirement and get rid of some of their ill-gotten or well-gotten wealth, or even leaving it in their wills to other people. These people were in early or mid-life that were making money suddenly, substantial money. I mean, we're talking about many millions. We're not just talking about an extra 100,000 or so. These are people who created a business on the whole and had sold it. Or in one or two instances, these very highly paid professionals in investment banking who are, getting bonuses of many millions and so on. And so we decided that we would see what they were up to. And it turned out that they were basically entrepreneurs in the social sphere as much as they had been entrepreneurs in the business sphere. In other words, they were taking their skills as well as their money and applying it to good causes of one sort or another. One was a chap called Niall Mellon. Now, he's an Irish property developer in his 30s. And Ireland has been doing rather well, and people have been building houses all over Ireland and indeed in Britain as well, which he's been promoting. And so he's got a lot of money. He's still very busy. He's just got married about 3 years ago, got a small kid, and as one does, I suppose, you've got that sort of money, he bought a holiday home in South Africa. And when he went out to live there near Cape Town, he discovered that across the valley there was one of these townships, which he'd never seen before, but intrigued, he went in and saw the kind of terrible shacks that they lived in. And he said to the elders, "Is there anything that I can do to help? I do know about building things." And they said, yes, I suppose you could train a small group of our African workers to build some houses. So he started to do that, and he came back after about 3 months, having appointed a foreman, and really they hadn't done anything. So he determined to show them what could be done. So for the last 3 years, he has flown out an Airbus from Ireland full of Irish volunteers who've raised money by charity efforts, marathon runs, walks, etc., to pay for their own fare and their own accommodation. They're all either just hands or they're craftspeople, builders of one sort or another, electricians, plumbers, and so on. And they come out and they build. Well, last year he flew 2 Airbus full out, some 600 people. And they built 120 houses in 2 weeks. Just little small 3-bedroom simple breeze block homes with a kitchen and a bathroom and so on in one of the townships opposite his home, just to show what could be done. Then the workforce that he left behind there has got something to, a model to work on. So they go on building houses. Now what he does is he then sells these houses to the Africans who can prove that they've got a title deed to the land on a 20 to 25 year mortgage with no interest. He hopes that gradually they will repay this, and this will keep the thing going, for generations. But of course he's got to work in with the local municipalities, because they've got to provide the infrastructure and make the roads a bit better and so on and so forth. And they've got to approve the whole thing, of course. So it's a partnership operation which he hopes in the long term is sustainable. But he's funding it for the first 20 years or so. And he flies out actually every 2 weeks, can you believe, from Dublin to Cape Town to make sure that it's happening. And I have to tell you, that's the most important thing in his life. He says, I make 2 phone calls every morning. One to my business manager in Dublin for the property company, and one to my foreman in Cape Town. And I have to tell you, the one I look forward to most is the one to Cape Town. So this is now his passion. But he'll still keep his business going, because that generates the wealth which he can then donate to his little foundation in South Africa. He's now moving on to another township, because actually the municipalities say, slow on, you're moving too fast, because every time he builds a house he displaces 2 people, and they have to build shacks further up the hillside, and they have to be coped with. So progress has to be gradual. He's learning a lot about South African social society and South African politics, but he's got together with President Mandela, and they've got a long-term aim that South Africa, by the time they host the World Cup in 2010, I think it is, they will have rebuilt the 2,100,000 houses that need to be rebuilt in South African townships, and it may happen. We've been going around other townships, and his example has been picked up by the Africans themselves, who are saying, clearly it can be done. Clearly proper homes can be built for our people. So he's leading a small little housing revolution in South Africa from his base outside Dublin in his 30s.